Hi, this is Anika with Transform the Norm. I wanted to talk about the power of Shavasana. So, Shavasana, if you're not familiar with it, is the last posture in a yoga practice. And it's basically where you lay down on the mat, flat on your back, and you just let it all go. And this posture is actually the reason why I am still with yoga today. And so, it all kind of goes back to my first time practicing yoga, which was almost 20 years ago. My God, where has the time gone? At that time, this was before yoga was really popular, but I had heard a lot about the practice, and I knew that there was kind of that physical piece, but there was also supposed to be kind of this spiritual aspect, and I'd always been kind of interested in different spiritual things. So even though at this time yoga wasn't really popular and people would think it was a cult or all these different things, I kind of wanted to explore it. And Lord knows I needed to be more flexible, especially at that time. So off I went to my first practice. And thank God it was at this really small studio, because I'm here to tell you that I struggled with every single posture. I could barely touch my toes. I was in no way, shape, or form showing up great on the mat in terms of my postures. But what I remember the most was the final posture, which was Shavasana. And basically, he told us to just lay down on our backs and just to let it go. And in that moment, I really did that. I let it all go. And that may not sound like a big deal, but trust me, at that time of my life, that was a huge deal for me, because I would carry so much stuff. It was like I was carrying the weight of the world at that time in my life. I had so many things from my childhood that I hadn't really processed because I was afraid to. I didn't know how to unpack all of those things or how to deal with it. So instead of getting still or tuning in, I was always busy trying to go here or there, anything just to avoid that quietness of myself in some ways. And I was also at that time still trying to prove myself to the world and to others. And so I was always trying to do something bigger and better. And so I just put all of this pressure on myself. And not only that, but in many ways I was still trying to save everybody. And so I was taking on their stuff. And so all of this stuff kind of came with me onto my yoga mat. But what was really powerful about that last posture, that Shavasana, was that in that moment, I was actually able to let it go. And I felt such a sense of peace and lightness. And it was a feeling that I hadn't known very often in my life. But I knew that it was a feeling that I needed to feel more of. And something just magical had happened on my mat. I didn't know what happened, but it was enough to inspire me to come back to my mat. And I would keep returning and keep returning, because I knew that I needed that feeling of peace, that little bit of space. And there's something to be said for creating some space in our lives. And yoga gave me that opportunity to do that, because it was a time for me to leave some of my stuff at the door, to just come and focus on my body and myself, so that I could actually be a witness for what was going on with me. You know, when we're always so busy or trying to move all the time and do all these things, we don't always have a space just to breathe or to move or to really think or to really see what's happening. And so yoga, giving me that time to just step away and to step back, gave me a little bit of breathing room. And that magic kind of can happen in that space, or at least it did for me, because it started giving me that chance to really go in, to be more of a witness for my life, and not only what was happening on the mat, but off of the mat. And over the time and over many years, that really gave me the opportunity to process, to really grow and to really shift and to really deal with some things. It certainly didn't happen overnight, but if it hadn't been for that first Shavasana, that kind of magic that happened in that moment of just releasing and letting go, I don't think that I really would have come to the practice. But I've gotten so much out of it in time. And it's actually one of the reasons, kind of that ability to create some space, to give people that opportunity to kind of go in and to leave their stuff at the door. It's one of the things that I love about teaching. I love having that opportunity or being able to create a space or an experience that can invite people to kind of check some of those things that they don't need, their baggage, away for a moment, so that they can have a little bit of space just to explore, to feel a little bit more freedom, a little bit of kind of room to breathe. I think there's some magic and there's some power that happens in that. And it's one of the reasons why I really love teaching things like yoga or meditation or those practices that can help us to kind of go in. And so for me, I'm just so thankful for Shavasana, for that magic that can happen in that little bit of space that we can get on our mat. And thanks today for kind of tuning in for some of my insights. And for now, tune in, turn on, live up.